All right, welcome back. WBKS1Radio.com, BKS1 Radio TV, Old Dog on TV. Check it all over the place. Tune in radio. Where else should we go? You can tweet me at ODogWBKS1. You can tweet Ghost at GhostBKS1. We are all over the place, man. We just love sports. We sports fans just like you. Callers, you can call in. The number is 646
233
13.
02.
We're going to say it real fast. 646
233
13. All right, check us out. Give us a call if you got something on your mind. We got the guest calling in about 5-10 minutes. About 5 minutes. We got the great Jamal Murphy. He's going to call us and give a little background information, the inside scoop on the New York Football Jets. And then we got Gerard Hector coming in. He's going to give us some inside scoop on the the New York Football Giants, as they like to call them. Why do they call them New York Football Giants?
They don't even play in New York anymore.
None of these teams play in New York. Their offices ain't in New York. They don't practice in New York. I'm going to start calling them the New Jersey Giants and the New Jersey Jets. That's it. I'm calling them New Jersey. Not that I want to own them teams, because they both stink. They both stink.
The Jets' home headquarters been in Jersey forever.
For years. Years. Folks, the stadium is, what? 15 miles? About 8 miles outside of New York City. But they give them all the credit. It's a big city. Whatever. Anyway, well, I guess it's like Dallas. Dallas, they play in Arlington, Texas. Arlington Cowboys.
Did they play in Dallas in the beginning?
They played in, where was the other stadium? Irving.
Okay.
Remember it was in Irving?
That was the first stadium they played in?
Yep, it was in Irving. Irving, Texas.
We can't call them Irving Cowboys.
Right, exactly. You can't call them the Irving Cowboys. That just sounds
Can't call them Austin Cowboys.
No, exactly. All right, Ghost, let's talk a little baseball real quick before our guests call in. You made an interesting point. Tell the people what we were talking about off air.
It's amazing. I said it's amazing. The Yankees are 30 games over 500 and are 10 games out of first place in the East. Boston is just having an amazing year. It's unbelievable. And I don't even know if they're on the rate. Are they on the pace to break the record for most wins?
Well, the question that came up, and I wanted to ask you this, Ghost. Let's see where they are. Look at the standings. The Red Sox have 86 wins. The Baltimore Orioles have 84 losses. Who gets to 115? Do the Red Sox get to 115 wins first, or do the Orioles get to 115 losses first?
Orioles get to 115 losses first. I don't think the Red Sox get to 115.
Does Buck Showalter survive the season?
No.
This is it for Buck?
Yeah, because if you look at the beginning of the year, he was having issues.
Yeah. 36 wins. What happened to Buck Showalter? He used to be a good manager.
Can you manage no talent?
Well, that's true. Well, if they have no talent, then why should they get rid of Buck? That's not his fault.
Because of his move and his attitude in the beginning of the year, you can tell that he was about done. And I think he wants out more than probably Baltimore might want to get rid of him.
Well, if you only got 36 wins, wouldn't you want to go out, get out?
Yes,
It's
that's
like
what I'm saying. I think he's going to be done because he's tired of it. Because what if Baltimore done to even so that they're improving their team?
Because they are 49 and a half games out of first place.
Yep.
They haven't been in this thing since what? June?
April.
That is
The
bad.
Blue Jays is 31.
They are the worst team in the American League and the worst team in all of baseball.
Now the best division in baseball is the NL West.
The NL West. Now who's in the
There's
NL
5
West?
games separating first place and fourth place.
Wow.
Diamondbacks, Colorado, Dodgers, and the Giants.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Padres just.
Baseball's heating up. What game are we on? We're on 116, roughly? 116, 118 for some teams?
We're
Yeah.
119.
Yeah, 117 for the Mets. The Mets go out and wallop the New York Yankees, hitting 5 home runs last night. What's that about, Ghost?
Yeah, dog shines on. What's it? Sun shines on the dog's butt.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut.
Yeah, once in a while. Broke clock's right at least twice a day.
We got all of them, right?
Yeah, they got lucky. They got lucky.
Yeah, I mean,
And you still
what is it?
score
Noah
5
Syndergaard
runs.
pitching well? Or is that DeGrom? No, DeGrom, sorry.
But they still scored on the ground, so it wasn't like he went out there and shot it back completely.
Now, we talked about it. Yankees going into the wild card. I'm not real happy about
Right,
that.
just make the playoffs. Don't matter how you get there.
Yeah, but
0-0 when you get there.
yeah, and then if you win, you got to play the Astros, which we saw with the Yankees. What happened to the Yankees last time they played the Astros?
Yeah, it took them 7 games. They could do it again.
But they couldn't win on the road, Ghost.
Neither could Houston.
Yeah, but they had Houston had home field advantage.
And they took Game 7 was down. They scored late in Game 7 when they
Which
did the run. So it's not like they blew them out like it was they destroyed them.
Which is interesting because the Yankees could potentially end up with a better record than Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And Houston would still have the home field advantage in the playoffs.
That's why they should reseed. Every sport should reseed the playoffs.
Reseed the playoffs. I'm an advocate of that for this year.
I'm an advocate forever. Like, you are better. It should take the top whatever teams, regardless of the league.
The top 4 teams?
Whatever league, if it's in baseball or take the top teams, you get the true World Series. So the best 2 teams happen to be in the American League,
Mm-hmm.
they should get the World Series. The best 2 teams happen to be in the National League, they should get the World Series.
Well, what do you mean? They should get to the World Series.
The best 2 teams in baseball should play.
Okay. They
Like
should
the
play
best
each
2
other.
teams in the best 2 teams in football should play. The best 2 teams in basketball.
But wasn't it like that back in the day when the team that from the National League that had the best record went to the World Series, and the team from the American League that had the best record? That's why they called it the pennant, right? Wasn't it like that years ago?
It wasn't all these rounds. It wasn't the division.
Right.
It was like 2 rounds and boom,
Right.
that was it. But you only had like 4 teams going on, so it was some crazy, some low number.
Right. But now, because of money and television rights and player salaries and all that good stuff,
Yeah, but I think the top teams, like in basketball, the top 16 teams should play.
I agree.
But if that means if 14 of them come from the West,
Oh, you mean regardless of conference?
we're in a conference. Don't
Wow.
Why we gotta have a conference? I want the best teams. I don't need the conference. I don't care about the conference.
Wow. Let me think about that. Let me look at how that would have shaken out last year in the NBA. That would have put. Oh, that's interesting, Ghost, because that would have put. That means Cleveland would have been. Hold on. Let's go to the league.
Cleveland would have made it.
Here we go.
Barely.
The top 16 teams would have been Houston, Toronto,
Mhm.
Golden State, Boston, Philadelphia, Cleveland would have been a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seed. Portland, Oklahoma, Utah, Indiana, Pelicans, San Antonio, Minnesota. So it would have shaken out the same way, except Minnesota would have to play Houston, which really, isn't that who they played anyway? Because you'd had one playing the 16, right?
Yeah.
So that's who they played anyway. The Spurs would have played the Raptors.
Mhm.
Pacers would have played the Warriors. And a lot of this probably would have shaken out the same way. I think,
Right,
anyway.
but you might have ended up with the Rockets and the Warriors in the finals. You would
That
have had
would
to
have been
have
awesome.
2 different leagues. Oh, you gotta have the best from this conference and the best from that conference. No, you don't. I want the best teams. I don't care what conference they came from. I want the best teams.
Yeah. I like it. I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it one bit. Let me double check something. Let me just make sure the guest has got the number.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it at all. In fact, I like it.
And then you reseed after each victory, and the team with the best record should always hit the home court.
I agree. Because remember that year, what was it? Seattle was 7-9, and they wound up hosting a playoff game because they won their division.
Yeah.
Which was garbage. I think it was the Saints they had to play.
And then the beating Saints.
Yeah. 7-9
Because of
team.
Marshawn Lynch crazy run he had. But no, that's why it should change.
All right, callers, here we go. Caller from the 718. Is this the great Jamal Murphy?
It's Jamal Murphy. I don't know about the great part.
You don't tell Bill that. Come on now.
Welcome to the show, Jamal.
What's going on?
I'm just following the lead of Hall of Fame journalist, writer, the great Bill Roden. So if he says you're great, I'll take his word for it. You know what I mean? What's up, Murph?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing great. We're doing fantastic. All right, let's jump right into it. You've been to Jets training camp. Were you able to go to the Jets preseason game?
Yeah, I was at that game.
Okay, give me a little bit of background. Talk to me. Everybody wants to know. There's one thing we're talking about. It's Sam Darnold. Tell me what you know. Tell me what you feel. Give me what your thoughts are.
Well, I mean, he looks good. I mean, he's as advertised, number 3 pick in the draft. He's sharp, very humble in terms of, dealing with the media, but also it seems with his teammates, he's always giving credit to the other guys, the other quarterbacks, McCown and Bridgewater, for, kind of showing him the ropes, and he's always mentioning them. But on the field, he looks pretty solid. He hasn't been perfect in the preseason game. I thought he was especially the first series was unspectacular. As his reps went on, he played better. Sometimes he looks a little jittery in the pocket, but he always seems to be pretty accurate with his throws. He's not afraid to take chances, try to throw it into tight spots. From what I'm hearing now, in terms of they have this joint practice with the Redskins, it seems like he's even picked up his play, where you have Josh Norman publicly saying how impressed he is with him and how he can't rattle him like he would want to. It looks like he's going to start this next preseason game coming up on Thursday, I believe. So, from what I saw in practice in the first preseason game, I would have said that Bridgewater would probably be the guy to start the season. But it was so close between him and Darnold that if it's going to be close, you might as well go with the franchise, the guy that's supposed to be the franchise guy and the rookie, and let him, let the fans see him right away, let him go through his growing pains and go from there.
Right.
So you think you want to start Darnold?
Yeah, why not?
I think that's how it looks. I mean, like I said, I think Bridgewater's a safe bet in terms of, if you want to go with the guy who's actually going to play, the best and maybe give you the best chance to win. But it is close. Even, from what I've just seen in the first week or two, it's close enough to where you would say, Darnold's going to get better. The first week is probably Darnold's worst week, if you had to guess, because he's just getting there, just getting his feet wet. If he continues to progress, why not just stick him out there and let him go? Why? There's no reason not to.
I'm gonna tell you why not. Because if that kid goes out there and gets eaten up in his first couple of games, and then you got to pull him and go to Bridgewater or McCown, then what?
You don't pull him. You learn.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
time.
he's the type of guy you could pull. I think you could pull him.
But no, I wouldn't pull him. How many interceptions?
I hear you. That's not ideal. Yeah, you'd rather. The safe bet is to go with one of the veterans and, let him learn, and then maybe either there's an injury or he's ready to go week 6 or something like that. But all his teammates are impressed by him. Opponents are impressed by him. It's not like we haven't seen this recently. A lot of quarterbacks have been thrown in. Wentz was thrown in from day one. Other guys, I don't have on the top of my head, but nowadays in the NFL, it's not that big a surprise.
My thing is, if they start Bridgewater or McCown, how many extra games that get him, and is that going to make the Jets really that much better than the possibility of him learning on the fly? You don't learn much sitting there watching. But if that's the case, you could sit at home, watch TV a game, and be like, oh, well, I can go play quarterback. No, you learn from actual playing. Get him out there. He has to process the speed of the game. It's not like he's not a dumb kid. In my opinion, he probably could have went number 1. I think he was the best quarterback in the draft. But you learn more playing, and I don't think the drop off is different. It's not like saying we're going to sit Drew Brees and start a rookie. I don't think the difference is Darnold's not taking him to the Super Bowl. Bridgewater's not taking him to the Super Bowl. McCown's not taking him to the Super Bowl. I think the value of having him learn from day one, if you're going to just stick with him, is more for down the road than it is to say, all right, we're going to sit you for a year. Because what difference does that make? Then you're going to come in next year and not play the game.
Okay, what about this from this perspective? You got Teddy Bridgewater.
Trade him.
That's what I was going to say. Why don't you put him out there, let him show that he can still ball, and then you can trade him for assets, and then
you put Teddy Bridgewater in the preseason, make him look good, then you trade him before the season starts.
Okay.
Which he did. He looked good in that first game. I think he was like, I forget exactly, like 7 for 8 or 8 for 9, threw a touchdown pass. He looked very solid out there. I think he's the guy. If you were really trying to like go, if you really thought you were a playoff team and you're trying to go, win 9-10 games or something like that, I think you do go with Bridgewater.
Right.
But if you're already starting from scratch and it is what it is, and Darnold looks like he can handle the pressure. And he looks to be getting better and better, has the team's confidence. Why not go with him? I
don't know. It just seems like everybody's rushing to throw these young quarterbacks.
You're talking about Hall of Fame quarterback, though. You're not sitting.
How do we know that?
They're not sitting behind a Hall of Fame quarterback. If he was in New England, then yeah, sit him.
But hold on. How do we know?
Right.
How do we know that Aaron Rodgers didn't learn by sitting on the sideline and is better now because of that time he's sitting on the bench? We don't. We can't quantify that.
He sat for like 5 years. Aaron Rodgers had 5 years.
Wentz was thrown to the wolves, right? That first season had started pretty good, tailed off late in the year, but then he came back MVP candidate. I think the Jets take that, you know.
But my thing is, if Aaron Rodgers was behind anybody but Brett Favre, he would have been playing.
True.
Yeah, probably.
So I mean, that's not a good comparison because he's sitting behind a Hall of Fame.
But that doesn't change the fact that that still may have benefited him in the long run.
I don't think so. I think it made a difference.
We can't quantify that. We don't know.
I'm saying I don't think so. I think he would have been playing if he was behind somebody else.
All right. Now, Murph, give the listeners the insight. Like, what's it like being at Jets camp? What goes on? And for me, I'm going to ask you the question: what the heck do they do at camp? Like, what are they doing? And all the B-roll that we see, all I see is guys running around in shorts, stretching, catching a pass here or there. What do they do?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the first thing I noticed it was hot. It was like 90-something degrees. I was all the reporters. We were all looking for shade and water. You know what I'm saying? I was just happy I didn't have to have pads on and a helmet. So that's the first thing. It's not a game out there. You know how this summer's been. In New Jersey and
Absolutely.
New York, it's been pretty hot or raining, one or the other. But I mean, it reminds me. I played high school football. It reminds me of the same thing. The 2 days. You're hitting the bags. You break it off into the defensive drills, the linebacker drills. They're running through. They're doing the little footwork drills, and they're throwing the ball. Little interception drills, little fumble drills. The quarterbacks, they go to a spot on the field and they're just throwing different patterns. And then at the end of towards the end of the practice, let's say a good probably half hour, the last half hour of the practice, they're actually playing 11 against 11, not really tackling, like half tackling. They're not throwing people to the ground, but they'll wrap you up, full pads. So that was what was good for me. You were able to really see the quarterback play because they were breaking up, they were breaking up snaps pretty evenly the couple days I was there. From what I've heard now, that another reason I think Darnold might start is the practice they had today against the Redskins. Darnold I think he took like 20-something snaps. Bridgewater took 5, and McCown took 5. So that's not a sign. At least for this next preseason game, that's a definite sign. I don't know what it means long term, but yeah, I mean, practice is practice. Probably pretty much what they do during the season. I don't even think it's really technically training camp anymore. They're just treating this as regular practice. They got preseason games every week, so it's the practice leading up to that. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's pretty routine.
Yeah, because I look at that and I'm wondering, they always show these guys and they say, oh, he looks good. Oh, this guy looks good in camp and this guy looks great. We got Gerard Hector calling in next and he's going to give us a little background. But, everybody wants to talk about. And how much can you really assess from the preseason? Because we know either one or two things. Now, if Darnold goes out there with the ones, as they call them, the ones are the first stringers, if in case you don't know that, but most people who are sports fans know that. So if he goes out there with the ones and does something instead of going out there with the 2s and some of the 3s, then I might be a little bit impressed. I mean, I saw him in the game. I saw some highlights. He looked okay. He moved well. He didn't get rattled when his two touchdowns got called back, and he stayed strong. He made a nice, good throw down and away to the receiver for the touchdown that he scored. So I guess I was impressed. But again, for me, it's preseason. It's like, all right, whatever.
No, I think for me, okay, so practice is, quarterback is the one position I feel like you can really get a handle on. Maybe wide receiver. Okay. Maybe cornerback, because even though you're playing against your own team, like even for instance practice, either a guy's accurate or not. He's completing passes or he's not. He looks comfortable or not. And it's the same thing in preseason too. It's like, okay, you're right. We really don't. of course, you never know until the regular season. You really never know, right? And then once you perform in the regular season, they say you never know until the playoffs.
Right.
So there's always that next step. But at least you can see whether the dude has skills, right? You don't know how he's going to react to different defenses once the regular season comes, because they're going to switch it up on him. So yeah, even if a guy's doing his thing in preseason, there's still gonna be a learning curve once they start blitzing and
right.
disguising blitzes and all that kind of stuff. So you're right, you never really know, but you could at least from the preseason to in practice, I think you can tell if a dude has NFL skills. You know what I mean?
I hear you, Murph. Now hold on, we got the one, the only family member. Join us with your welcoming. Give me the round of applause. Hold on. The great Gerard Hector.
What's up, y'all?
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Hector? How you doing, man?
Chilling.
We're gonna let your standing ovation die down first.
I appreciate that. More, please.
There you go. We give you a little bit more. There you go. All right, let's get serious now. We just talked a little bit with Murph. He's on the line talking about Jets training camp. Talk to me.
Murph. What up, Gerard?
Well, talk to me about the Giants. I'm gonna ask you some same question just because I want to get a sense. What can you take away from training camp? What have you seen? Did you look in somebody's eyes and see anything?
Well, no, listen, the Giants have some players who I think, are really excellent. Does that mean they're going to be a lot better than they were this past season? Not 100% sure about that, right? I mean, obviously, Odell is great, and he looks great. You can't really tell they've got any issues at all with the ankle. I mean, he was cutting, moving, sprinting, looking outstanding. Saquon's a monster. He also looks really good. I mean, dude's a rookie, but you wouldn't know it based on how he performed in camp. And the second-year tight end, Evan Ingram, looks great as well. Another person helping out the Giants, not only in blocking but pass catching as well. Sterling Shepard, Jonathan Stewart's going to be a very capable backup. He stays healthy, and those guys look good. Landon Collins on the defensive side, as well as it was Eli Apple. The issue for the Giants is still that offensive line.
Mm-hmm. Well, they brought in Nate Solder, right?
Nate Solder is there. I'm not going to say Solder was bad or terrible in camp, but he didn't stand out. And
he better stand
you've got Belichick always gets rid of his guys
a year too early.
They say, quote unquote, a year too early.
Yep.
But then those guys typically end up falling off a cliff when they go to the next team, right? Usually, I mean, only two guys, if I can remember correctly, when they left, got better or at least maintained production. Richard Seymour and Vince Wilfork. And then Wilfork came back.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So
but like Wilfork won because he was like 500 pounds. He just stood in the middle of the line.
Solder's going to be better than Eric Flowers because Eric Flowers is the turnstile.
I'm better than Eric
Flowers.
Yeah,
I was about to say, I might be better than Eric Flowers. I don't know.
I can slow up somebody.
I'll chip him for a second. Eric Flowers with Swiss cheese, man.
He's still on the line, though. He's playing the right tackle position. So he's still there.
So he has to go. So he'll have to go up against somebody like Von Miller, Khalil Mack.
Ooh.
Yeah,
and so the Giants are going to have to keep Ellison in on that side when they're playing against a good pass rush, like we want against Jacksonville, to protect Flowers on that right side. Also the left guard Hernandez, the rookie, he's also playing really, really well. I like what I see from him. So look, there are some good pieces. It's all going to come down to the health and play of that offensive line. And I think in my recap for the season on Black Sports Online, I said the ball bounces right. They could be 9-7, more likely 8-8, probably 7-9.
Right. I think you're accurate in that, and I think that's
which is still better than last year.
Yeah, 3-13 last year was not hard to beat. Let me ask you. You talked about Saquon Barkley. He had the first run. Oh my God, Giants Give me a more realistic, objective opinion of Saquon. He's 5'10". I know he's.
I'm not going to go overboard like Giants fans and see things through rose-colored glasses, right? I mean, obviously, covering the team, but growing up a Giants fan, look, I think the kid's going to be very good. I see a season somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,300 to 1,400 all-purpose yards, not just rushing, right? Because again, that offensive line is still. You can't run 1,500 yards behind that line, right? That is still where I see them having an issue and struggling. But he is an excellent pass catcher. And again, if that line is going to be trouble, Eli's going to need a safety valve every now and then to dump the ball up and get it out to. And Barkley out in the open, as you saw in the preseason and I've seen in camp, in space, he's problematic for defenses, right? So, I can see him being a real, again, somewhere in that 1,300 to 1,500 all-purpose yards neighborhood, which is excellent for a rookie.
Now, Gerard, you said between 7 and 9 and 9 and 7. Murph, where do you see the Jets at, realistically?
I kind of see the Jets in the same light. I think they could get eight wins. But probably 7 and 9. They were 5 and 11 last year.
And that was overachieving for them.
That wasn't supposed. The Giants were supposed to be the much better team. The Jets, they had the two rookie safeties who are beasts really on defense, and they're back for their second year. The defense is going to be fine. To me, if they get decent quarterback play, which goes back to the debate we were having. I think the safe bet is Bridgewater, but the future is Darnold, and they're close enough. So I really think either one of them could probably give them decent quarterback play this year. I can see 8 wins.
Gerard, let me ask you a question I asked Ghost earlier on the show. Is Eli a Hall of Famer?
Eli is a Hall of Famer.
Tell me why.
2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl MVPs. He's going to finish his career leading the Giants, and he already pretty much is leading in all statistical categories.
So longevity, that makes him a Hall of
Famer? Say more
Famer?
about the horrible quarterback the Giants have always had?
Well, look, the Giants, Phil Simms notwithstanding, right? Have not had great quarterbacks throughout their history. But also, the Giants, from an offensive standpoint, throughout their franchise's history, even as the league has changed, have often resisted that sort of quarterback-heavy offense, right? Their big thing is running the ball, defense, yada yada, playing outdoors, right? Even in those years that they won the Super Bowl, right? Manning was great in those Super Bowl runs.
Yeah, he was
that's just not what they do.
He's 111 and 103 record, so that's 8 games over 500.
He's going to get in the Hall of Fame because of the 2 Super Bowl wins.
Right.
But statistically, he's not a Hall of Fame quarterback.
And if you look at his numbers in those 2 playoff runs, yes, there are only 2 playoff runs. When he's hot like that, he's pretty damn good, right? So,
but the problem is he hasn't. What do they talk about when we talk about Hall of Famers? Longevity. Did he do it over the long period of time? Just because you get 2 great Super Bowl runs, does that mean you should be one of the 310, 320 players to get your Canton bust in the Hall of Fame again?
But let me say, I'm not an Eli Manning fan. I never have been. But he does have the 2 Super Bowls, and when you look at his career, he does kind of stack up, as far as career numbers. He's 6th all time. Yeah, he's 6th all-time passing yardage. I know the game is different, but he's ahead of Ben Roethlisberger. You know what I'm saying? He's ahead of Phillip Rivers. So, and I'm not even, that's just yardage. I'm sure if you look at completions, touchdowns, he's there also. So I think he's pretty much a no-brainer to be a Hall of Famer. Whether we like it or not.
He's got 339 touchdowns.
The other thing is, when talking about Hall of Fame, is there's different classes and levels within the Hall of Fame, right? So you're in the Hall of Fame, and there's those special rooms. He's not in a special room when he's in the Hall of Fame, right? He's nowhere near the level of.
He should be in the front lobby, as soon as you walk in the door.
Listen, have you guys been to the Hall of Fame?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
So
I'm
you
not
think
thinking.
what's
Let me tell you,
what's a good percentage for the Hall of Fame quarterback to complete?
See, that's what I'm saying. He only completed 59.8. You got to be at least 65% or better in today's age where you can't touch receivers, where the field's wide open. You know, defenses have to play back, and you can't complete 65% of your passes. I think that's unacceptable.
He's eight touchdown passes, bro. You know what I mean? Like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah,
There's no way you're gonna keep it around. And I'm saying
you're not.
with the two Super Bowls.
I agree with you, Murph. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you. I just don't like it. You know, I'm not an Eli guy.
I think his game is one of the ugliest games there is for a quarterback position. I remember even in his prime, he would close his eyes and throw it deep.
Absolutely.
Something good.
And just chuck it up there and hope for the best.
It is what it is. He got lucky enough.
All right,
All right, y'all
Yeah,
like he's some bum on the corner of the street that
Yeah,
you
it
play
is.
pick up football with. Oh, Lord.
He's led the league in interceptions 3 times.
there you go.
Listen,
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
that's all
I'm
true.
sure he's up with the leaders of interceptions. We check interceptions.
Now, since we're on the talk about Hall of Fame, did you guys watch any of the Hall of Fame speeches?
I saw some clips.
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw Randy Moss's whole one, and then once Ray Lewis was coming on, I couldn't do it.
You know what? Hey, Murph, I couldn't do it either. That's the only one I haven't watched with the exception of Earl. Like, I watched Moss, I watched Dawkins, and I watched T.O.'s actually. What do you think about T.O.'s comments about he did it to take a stand against the writers, of which you both are? Not that you have Hall of Fame votes, but you're a writer. What do you think about T.O.'s comments?
Listen.
Go ahead.
Tio has, a group of people that clearly do not like him. But the one thing you cannot say about him, Tio never got into any sort of altercations or problems off the field, right? The dude was never arrested, never got into any of those types of things. So all the language and pejorative terms that writers would use about him were, unfair a lot of the times, right? I mean, this dude was, you look at his stats, I mean, good Lord, he's a no-brainer Hall of Fame.
First ballot. He should have been.
One of the best receivers to ever do it. It should have been first ballot.
Yep.
But that's my problem with many of the people who, and some of our colleagues in the business who cover baseball and football. They think they're gatekeepers.
The Guardians. The Guardians of the Hall.
The game doesn't belong to you, right? Like, it doesn't. Your personal vendettas and whatever against people should not guarantee or dictate whether they get in or not. The criteria is, do their numbers and stats and their plays stack up? Yes or no? And T.O. was first ballot. So all that petty nonsense is ridiculous.
That's why I don't think writers should have to vote. I think it should be people, players in the Hall of Fame.
Murph, what are your thoughts on T.O.'s comments?
Yeah, I agree with all you guys. I mean, I feel for him in terms of how he was treated by the media, even though he's nuts. You know what I'm saying? He is out there. He definitely wasn't the best
Teammate.
He's a weird dude. And he's out
Listen.
there.
Hold on, Murph. In his defense, if you grew up across the street from a man you didn't know as your father, and then man lives across the street and he's raising other kids, but you don't know your father lives across the street
Family. Yeah.
with a whole nother family, that's going to have some effect on your mental and emotional well-being.
I didn't say he didn't have an excuse. I'm just saying he was nuts.
That's not an excuse. That's a reason.
He was nuts, and he rubbed people the wrong way, which is fine. But I agree. Sports writers. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, who are we? Who are we to hold somebody out of the Hall of Fame? Like, that's what makes sports great.
Right.
The meritocracy. You are what you are on the field, and that's that. So yeah, but I just don't understand. What he was trying to accomplish, because I mean, you're mad at the sports writers, so you don't show up to the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's kind of a fan thing.
He accomplished nothing.
I don't know what he accomplished with that. That was another weird thing to do, but whatever. He can do whatever he wants to do. He should have been first ballot, but he also shouldn't take it as hard as he's taking it. I don't think.
Now, see, like I said earlier, when we were on the mic, is that if I was him and he was that upset with the writers in the NFL for the way it was handled, he should have gave his little speech, and told them they can keep their jacket and don't put my bust in that hall because I don't agree with the way your whole process is going on. Don't accept it and get put in there if you have a problem with it.
Right. If you're gonna boycott, I mean, you're gonna protest the thing. Protest it.
Boycott it hard. I agree with that. I think you say, look, keep your bust. I don't need it. I knew I was a Hall of Fame before you ever anointed me as a
I
Hall
would
of
have did
Famer.
my speech in Canton
Right.
at the Hall of Fame.
See, that's my
I
thing.
I would have picked my bust up and slammed it right on the stage.
Wow.
You want to prove a point? Prove a point. If you're gonna go all out, if you're gonna go all out, go all out. Like don't half-ass nothing. I'm throwing the bus through the stage.
Now that would have made a statement. That would have been a statement
Yeah.
right there. And see, doing it in Canton, I see
That's
that,
the classic moment right there.
that's my thing. Why diminish your viewership when you know every or a lot of football fans are watching, the league is watching? If you really want to make a statement, take your 25 minutes, or in Ray Lewis's
They
case,
would've cut his
45 minutes, or what was it, 2 hours? Anyway, get up on stage, say your piece, say you all suck, and I'm in, and now I'm taking this bus and knocking it over.
But they might have thought he was gonna cut his mic off. See, I wouldn't even give a speech. I just walked up, slammed the bus, and gave the 2 fingers and walked off. Double back salute, bye. In them leggings that he used to wear, he worked out.
With his abs hanging out.
No shirt.
Doing crunches in the driveway.
Yeah, right off the side of the stage. Where's he? Where's Jeff at? Oh, he's over there doing crunches.
All right, now hold on. Let's get back to some serious football talk, and then I got a couple of basketball questions for you. Murph, I'll start with you. Which QB should we expect more from, Carson Wentz or Andrew Luck?
Wow. Man. I'm gonna say Carson Wentz. We're familiar with the ACL. We know guys can come back from that. They're saying he's questionable now for week 1. And I wouldn't be surprised if Luck plays well. But the guy's been missing for over a year. The injury's mysterious. He couldn't throw for forever. So for Luck, I got to see him get through about 3-4 games even before I can be any kind of confident.
Gerard, same question.
Yeah, I'm going Carson Wentz. Look, are we sure Andrew Luck's good?
I don't know. That's the question for me. I'm not sure. I'll tell you that.
I mean,
I wanna see him
even
get
when he
hit.
was healthy, are we sure? I mean, is he that
I'm
good?
sure he was good when he
Threw
was
a
healthy.
lot of
Personally.
interceptions. A lot.
I agree with you, Gerard. I'm not so sure that he's as good as advertised. Let's put it that way.
Right.
He may be a good, solid NFL quarterback, but is he the next coming of Dan Marino as they try to make him out to be?
No, stop, no.
That's what they had him at.
No.
They said this guy's a once-in-a-generation quarterback. He can make all the throws. Can
See,
he?
people, somebody feels has to say that
Don't
about
compare
some player
anyone to
every
Dan
year.
Marino.
He did throw 40 touchdowns in 2014,
How
and
many
that was
interceptions?
4 years ago.
He did.
How many interceptions? 20?
16.
No, wait.
40 against 16. He's got
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think I'm when he was healthy, and I don't know if he'll ever be that healthy again, but when he was healthy, I thought he was a top 5 quarterback in the league.
Let's see.
Wow.
My issue
But,
with it is
my question is, will he ever be that healthy? And part of what made him that good is that he could also run, almost like a running back. So
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be that same guy.
look, and if they don't give him a line and a running game, he's gonna be back there getting tore up.
All right, let's shift gears real quick. We're coming up against it. We got about 17 minutes left in the show. WBKS1, the great Gerard Hector, the great Jamal Murphy joining us once again to give us their insight from the Jets and Giants camp. But we know that, folks. You know them as basketball aficionados, writers. Murphy and I, her hosts. He's the co-host of Bros Pod, and Gerard and I have sat in on Bros Pod with the Hall of Fame journalist, Bill Roden. And if you don't know Bill Roden, something's wrong with you. And Gerard Hector, look it up. And Gerard Hector is also a writer for BET Sports and Black Sports Online. So check out his work there. Guys, I want to get your opinion. Can the addition of Carmelo Anthony to the Houston Rockets take down the Warriors? Let's start with you, Gerard.
I mean, it depends, right? It depends on what role Carmelo's going to play. Are they going to convince him that, my man, you are not a starter? You're going to rock with this second unit, and you'll feast on second unit type players when you get on the court. I think, GM Daryl Morey, Daryl's one of the better GMs in the game, but Daryl often looks at stuff sometimes so analytically and from a math perspective. And I think when they shot those 27 and missed those 27 straight threes, Daryl was like, okay, if Melo's taking some of those threes, we make them and we win that series. And I get sort of that thought process. And that's probably true, right? If Melo's taking those threes instead of Ariza and Mbamute, you make a few more of them. You make a few more of them, you possibly beat the Warriors, right?
I think they would have beat the Warriors if Chris
I
Paul didn't get
understand
hurt.
where he's going, but, it's really going to depend on what kind of role you have Carmelo play, because we know he's suspect on the defensive end.
No, like I said, if he agrees to come off the bench in the second unit, then yeah, I think they have a chance. Because if Chris Paul didn't get hurt last year, I think they had a good chance of beating Golden State in Houston in Game 7.
Well, you all know I saw it in the Rockets' eyes all the way back.
You did. You did. You said it.
Do it.
You just didn't see that injury of Chris Paul's hamstring. That's what you missed. But now, Murph.
That's what I meant. I meant that one.
Now, Murph, can they convince Carmelo to come off the bench? That's the question. And do you think that that's a conversation that they've had with Carmelo prior to signing him, or would it be wise to have had that conversation?
I mean, when you start or you go to the bench, it's a part of the game. Like it's a natural part of the game. I think this is like a made up controversy about whether you come off the bench.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on.
I don't know. I don't care whether he comes off the bench or not. Like who's out there? What are the 12 guys? You start the best 5 guys. If you want to strategize and say, we want to make our bench a little stronger, and we want this guy to come off the bench, that's fine. So, to me, the whole thing was a fabricated story. I mean, in OKC, they were asking, it was a media versus Carmelo thing. The media wanted to they kept asking him, do you want to come off the bench? It wasn't a real story like Donovan asked him to come off the bench, and he said absolutely not, and there was a fight, and you're reporting on the story. It was just the media wanting to humble him, and he was like, nah, I'm not going out like that. Like, don't ask me about
But what is it?
me.
You've covered the Knicks and the Nets, and Gerard, you've been in locker rooms. What is it about Carmelo that makes him such a target? Because even when he played, everybody said, oh, he forced his way out of Denver. A lot of players have forced their ways off of teams. So that's not a new concept. Most notably, Kawhi Leonard just did it most recently. He forced his way out of San Antonio, but he doesn't seem to be getting the sort of criticism that Carmelo got. And then even when he was in New York, Carmelo played well for the Knicks. He was leading scorer. He improved his defense. Knick fans couldn't seem to stand him. And now, when he goes to OKC, what is it about Carmelo, Murph, that makes him seem to be this unlikable character? I don't understand.
I don't know. I think it's way deeper than basketball. I think it's like he's definitely a confident dude. I think he comes across as cocky to some people on and off the court. You know what I mean? Like the la thing. I got friends of mine who straight up jealous that he's with Lala. Straight up. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but I think there's all that, and then there's the hateration of non-basketball players who are going to say, "Oh, you never won a ring," blah blah blah, and the Knicks hurt. If you're a confident player and you go to the Knicks, it was a horrible organization. He could barely get into the playoffs with that squad. They never gave him any kind of player, close to his level.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, the year he had his best year, the second best option was J.R. Smith.
Gerard,
can I give you a little insight as to why I think people don't like Carmelo?
Give it to me. I'm going to go with this.
I think it goes to the draft. I think it goes to the draft picks came out.
A lot of it is hate. But remember when Linsanity was happening?
Yes.
Back in New York.
Yes.
And
which was a joke, by the way.
When Carmelo was asked about it, he was kind of just like, sort of throwing cold water on it.
Well, he's right.
Well, he was right, though.
Wait, and again, he was 100% correct. Because look, I've covered Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin's a good guy. Jeremy Lin, if he is your 1A or your second best option in your team, you ain't winning no championship.
You got a problem, right?
All right, that's just a fact. Okay, but I think everyone fell in love with that story. And you know how some of our colleagues in the media like to spin narratives, and then it's spilled out and everyone accepts it as gospel. Mm-hmm. When anybody goes against the grain of the storyline, this one's a malcontent. He's a this, he's a that, he's a that. And it's not that he's a malcontent. He's like, if you try to win, you got to get me the ball. Because let's keep it 100. Carmelo is one of the greatest scorers of the basketball this league has ever seen.
Yes.
Like, has ever seen. Like, go back and look at Denver Carmelo, even Nick Carmelo. That dude gets the ball.
He can get his shot.
20 feet. He jab steps, shoots it. He bullies you down on the block. I mean, he is relentless.
Right, and he's a in his prime because he's no longer there. Let's be honest.
Right,
He's
absolutely.
not even close to the same player he was. He's a 6-time All-NBA guy. His last All-NBA season was 2013. So you could really say, the last 4 years or so, he hasn't been the same guy. But when he was that guy in Denver and early in New York, he was more than just a ball stopper, as everybody likes to say now. He was more than just a jab step. He used to, he could take it to the hole. You're right. He could take you on the block, and he could shoot. He was a complete scorer. And I just, when I hear people talk about him now, they act as if his whole career he's just been some stationary shooter. Or something. And people, it's a case of how quickly we forget.
I think he's also cursed by the draft class he came out in with Wade and LeBron, and he was held in that light.
What's Wade doing right now?
Yeah, but Wade got championships.
Wade's got championships.
Wade won the
He won
ring
championship
first,
early.
Right, and he played. Wade had that incredible ring by himself, but then he got a few more playing with LeBron.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's lumped into that group, and that's the hard part.
So he's the underperformer
right.
of the
In
group,
their eyes,
or the disappointment of the group.
Wade has had a better career. I'm trying to think of guys. Let's think of guys in Melo's, not just his class, but his that time period that are better than him. Besides LeBron, you got Wade, and I guess you got to go Chris Paul.
Yeah, but in the people's eyes, they're gonna lump him into this that one time. 'Cause that's who came out with, and the two people who they're gonna put them together with got rings. Granted, they got them together.
Yeah.
Wade got his when he had Shaq.
LeBron shouldn't even count.
And Carmelo never had that supporting cast. But you know how Knicks fans are,
Right.
and they're gonna look at it as, oh wow, you're lumped into there.